If you haven't already, please check out part 1 and part 2 before watching this video so you can understand the lore fully. So, Yandere Simulator. We all know it by now, I don't need to introduce it at all. It's a very well discussed game for a lot of different reasons, and this series is me redesigning the characters and more importantly rewriting it entirely if it was a story done by me rather than Yandere did. I'm an indie game developer who is currently working on 2 games and I'm very passionate about character design and writing. I believe the Yandere Simulator writing had a lot of potential, especially in its overall concept, but it wasn't portrayed in the right way, and that's why I want to rewrite it and overall improve it. These are my own personal takes on the characters since it is my rewrite and redesign, so if you don't enjoy them, please feel free to click off the video or check out my other redesigns and see if they appeal to you more. In my previous videos I've done Usana, Amai and Kizana from the rivals, so in this video I'll be doing Oka and Osoro, who are 2 rivals I really am excited to redesign. This video only has 2 redesigns since I want to be able to talk more about the lore and my design ideas, since in the last videos I felt a bit rushed while doing so. And with that, let's begin. So starting with Oka, we all know in the original she is the occult club leader. In my version that's still the same. I still want there to be, I'm not sure if I want there to be an occult club, but I still want there to be a character who believes in occult, so that's still Oka, but my Oka is a male rather than a female. So yeah, I kept the gothic sort of aesthetic, but I wanted to lean more into visual kei. I listened to a lot of Malice Miser while drawing this, and I wanted to sort of give off a vampire aesthetic. It might not be able to be visible in the final drawing, but I wanted to give him a wider face for like traditional goth makeup, how the face is normally painted white and the makeup is normally black. I really like that aesthetic, and I feel like it would be a lot more interesting for Oka and it would make him stand out a lot more, especially because I want my rivals to stand out against NPCs in the game. Adding on to having them stand out, I made sure his uniform was very extravagant or extreme because I do want them to stand out a lot more than just having the default uniform. So adding on to that, I tried to give him this half skirt with the pants because I like the shape it sort of gave his silhouette. I wanted it to be very unique, but I'm not sure if I actually like the skirt over the pants since it does look a bit odd, but that could just be the way I drew it and like the overall length of the skirt. I added a lot of charms and like crosses, and I guess like rosary beads. So he has one around his neck and then he has one on his skirt, and they're meant to be matching. I don't think he has any belief in God or religion, more so just like occult and supernatural beings, but I think the crosses add to the aesthetic, which is why I added them. For his hair, I tried to keep it sort of similar to Oka, but I also did envision my own Oka with black hair, so I gave him black hair. Oka in the original has a sort of blue tint to her hair, so I tried to keep that, but instead of whatever Oka has, I sort of did a more visible ombre from black into blue. And with his hair, I don't want all my male characters to have long hair, so I think it would be interesting if the longer pieces of his hair were like hair extensions, and he was very interested in his appearance and like how he looks and doing his hair and makeup. For lore and personality, I want Oka to still be shy, but less like a shy anime girl, which is sort of what I got from Oka in Yandere Simulator, and more of just like he's introverted, and because of the way he presents himself, he seems almost hard to approach. But I think overall he'll be very kind-hearted and soft, and I drew the close-up portrait where he's smiling because I think it would be nice if, you know, he had like a really nice smile when he gets close and it's only something you can see when you're close friends. I think that's something Taro would like about him. Other than that, there's not much to say on Oka. I do want to expand on the lore, but I honestly can't remember a lot of Oka's original lore to begin with to rewrite. So I think I'll come back to his lore in the future, but for now that is my Oka design. And moving on to my Osoro design, I have a lot more to say for Osoro because I have a lot of opinions on the delinquents. So to start with, I just want to say I don't think I will keep the male delinquents, as in the ones that are currently in the game now. I'm not very fond of them. I feel like they all look the same. There's not very any uniqueness between the 5 of them. I think there's 5. Yeah, they're just not very unique. They all have blonde hair and the blazer, the jacket is open and it reveals the collared shirt, and that's really all there is to them. I understand looking uniformed and whatever, but I think I really do prefer the old female delinquents because although they looked uniform with like their dyed hair and their masks, that you could tell them all apart because they just had such unique designs. If that wasn't obvious, my Osoro will be hanging out with a female delinquent group because also I just feel like that's a lot cooler. And adding on to that, I don't really like the male delinquent's backstory, as in I think it's too similar to the bullies, how both groups sort of change themselves because they used to get bullied. I feel like you don't need two groups of people doing that, and I prefer the bullies, as in Musume's group, over the delinquents. So I'll be keeping the bullies but not the male delinquents, and I'll be changing them to female delinquents like I said. Moving on to her design though, I decided I'd give her tan skin because I do want to try and make mine a little more inclusive. Right now, I only have Amai and Osoro who are slightly darker, but I do want to add more characters that are darker or tan because I just think it can really help with making designs look better. And in the original Yandere simulator, everyone is paper white, which it's not very common to see in a school. So while talking about the old female delinquents from early Yandere simulator, I decided to take inspiration from them where they have dyed hair and masks. So if you can't tell, the mask is inspired by them, how there would be like a design on the front and stuff like that. Her skirt is sort of diagonal, or it's cut where it's uneven, and there's like tears out the bottom of it because I think it makes her more interesting to look at, and I really tried to make her look very unapproachable and not scary but just intimidating. I looked a lot into Yankee fashion or groups or aesthetics on Pinterest. Although my story isn't set in Japan or it doesn't have a specific time period, I really do like the, I think, 80s to 90s female delinquents, Yankee sort of look to it. So I made her bind her chest with bandages because that was also a common thing with old school delinquents. She has bleached hair because I noticed the original Osoro has perfect roots, which I don't feel like that would be accurate. I feel like if I was her, I probably wouldn't dye my hair as often. And also, I don't think it's in her lore anywhere that like she's naturally blonde, so I just prefer her being like canonically not blonde, and you can see that she's not blonde. As for her relationship with Senpai, I think it would be interesting if Senpai actually started to like some of these girls on his own, or guys on his own, because as playing as the Yandere, you can control who you kill and how you eliminate the rivals, but you can't control if Senpai becomes interested or in love with someone. Like, that's his emotions. Like, you can eliminate the rival, but he could still have those feelings first. I feel like in the original game, it's very much all these girls fall for him, but it's like I just think it would be more interesting if he also fell for these characters on his own, because you know, that's how people work. So yeah, I think Osoro would be one of the characters that Senpai gets interested in first. I think he would probably find her personality very interesting and unique, and therefore, you know, he wants to get close to her in some way, since she's not a club leader, so it's not like he would volunteer like I mentioned in the other videos. I'm not sure how I think they would meet, but I think it would be interesting if he found his own interest in her and wanted to get close to her, but she's very closed off and stuff like that. I also think it would make things harder for Ayano if Senpai developed feelings first for any of the characters, because then you have to deal with the consequence of if they die or if they go missing, then it's going to be more heartbreaking since he had an attachment to these people. Other than that, there's not much to say about my Osoro redesign. That's both my designs for this video. Like I said in the past, I really do want to expand on the story and like the rivals' backstories, because I think they don't really have much to them in the original game. Like, they have their tropes, but they don't have much going on for them other than that. So yeah, I think it would be very interesting to write more in-depth characters for rivals, and that could also be how Senpai gets attached to them very quickly because he feels sympathy for them, maybe, if they have like a sadder backstory. I'm thinking of doing a lore video if I get time to write like a full story. So if everyone's interested in that, I'll definitely try doing that, and maybe there'll be a speed paint of Ayano or someone in the background. Other than that, I will be away next week, so I won't be able to upload any videos. Maybe until Sunday or the week after. I intend on streaming on Saturday at 1 PM Australian time again, and I think this stream I will be doing redesigns since I am not able to do them during the week, which I'll focus on Megami and Infochan. That's all for this video, and I'll definitely try to be more lore heavy in my next redesign, so if you're interested, please check that out in the near future. Thanks for watching, bye!